So nobody ever talks about this, but when buyers who are looking for a home tour a house, there's certain mistakes they can make, okay? And these are mistakes that could potentially make it hard for the real estate agent, or maybe you might not get the deal over it.
I think they don't ask because they don't know that they should ask.
Yeah.
They should ask.
So today we're going to talk about the top mistakes that buyers make when they tour a house. So number one, people are sometimes watching. There are cameras in so many houses now, not just Ring doorbells, we're talking about actual surveillance. And so the mistake that buyers are making is not being aware of this.
I can tell you so many times that I've had this come up with my clients where they didn't realize they were being recorded. Yep. Or more often than not with my sellers that then send me a video of something that someone said on camera that they're using to figure out who they should talk to or who I should talk to. Everybody's recording everything.
Yep.
You're always being watched.
Which is crazy because this is not an all-party consent state. So this is actually, even though it's their home, it's not activity that's supposed to be happening. Not only can it ruin a negotiation and one party's giving up some leverage, and they're unaware, so we try to warn them if it's us, but a lot of people just aren't understanding that this is occurring.
So imagine you really like a home and you're excited about it and you're not realizing that you're being taped, and you go in there and you're telling me, oh my God, I love this house so much, I'm willing to pay like $50,000 over asking, and then the seller comes home that night, rewinds, watches, now they know where you're at. And then we go back and do our research and we realize the home's not really worth that much, but you were just really emotional and excited. So our advice is wait and talk about what you're interested in and what you really feel about the house after you leave.
Not only that, but sometimes people are super critical. So there's
That's the worst.
So the buyer may offend the seller big time but still be interested in the house, which is a little bit weird, but it does happen.
Right.
And so now the seller's like, screw them. I don't want them to win the offer. So yeah, big mistake.
Yeah, we love your house, but we hate your furniture, or oh my God, this photo is so terribly ugly, or whatever it is.
This is the ugliest paint color I've ever seen on a wall. Yeah, you just never know.
You have to keep your opinions to yourself.
Mistake number two, using the restroom and not being careful with how you conduct yourself in there.
So before you go and tour home, you should probably take a pit stop. That's just my first little bit of advice. And I mean, obviously in emergency cases, you don't want to have an accident or whatever, but for God's sake, don't blow up someone's bathroom. We sometimes have 15-minute appointments. So we leave and someone else is coming in 15 minutes later.
It's not only that, but not everybody is perfectly clean when they use the restroom. And so if the seller comes home and they notice something, hey, somebody used my toilet and there's a little bit of pee or something back here on the toilet bowl rim.
I can't even believe we're having this conversation.
And it's not a good look if you're planning to make an offer on the house. And surprisingly, this actually happens, right? So this is one of the mistakes buyers make. If you're gonna go in the restroom, be super tidy and neat. Okay?
Yeah, and a lot of times it's little kids. Like, let's be fair, it's not typically adults. Every once in a while, that will happen too. But usually it's like a little kid goes in and then the parents aren't following up, and then it's, it can be embarrassing.
Hey, big guy, how'd it go in there?
I missed.
What does that mean?
I missed.
Oh, hell no.
So mistake number three is an innocent mistake that happens a lot. Whenever people enter homes, usually we're taking off our shoes or we're putting on shoe covers, but some people don't and just traipse right in. And so nothing is more frustrating for a seller to come home to than mud on their carpet or water on the hardwood or leaves getting tracked in. I mean, we live in the Northwest, so it's pretty messy here during the winter.
Yeah, taking a pause in the entryway is a really good idea. A lot of times there's provided shoe covers or a little sign or something that gives you a clue as to what the seller's expecting. But the worst thing is when people just like quickly walk through the door and traipse in, or again, it's a kid thing sometimes where like the kids will just run in and on their way in, they stepped in dog crap on the driveway or something. And then it's like, you have to spend 20 minutes cleaning up a mess before you leave.
Yep, and what happens is we get to do it, typically, if we're there.
Please don't do that.
We get the paper towels, and here we go. Okay, wait a few minutes. Another common mistake that people make when viewing a home, and we give them some leeway, go check out the house, we're with you, but a lot of the times what ends up happening is somebody is way off and they're pressing the button to the garage door, and there's happens to be a pet in there that we had let them know about, and the pet runs out the garage door. So
yeah, I had this happen to me one time, and it was like a lab that was not even a year old, and the lab was like doing circles in the neighbor's yard, and we had to all chase the lab down. It was awful. So stay in your little group, follow directions, don't get out too far ahead, and don't press buttons that you're not ready to press yet.
Yeah,
Make sure there's not a dog that can get loose.
we've had it to where the garage door actually is bolted shut or is locked in some way, and what ends up happening is it'll sometimes pull it off the tracks or destroy the garage door.
Yeah, you hit the garage door button and it goes and everything breaks. Yeah.
So a lot of times we're looking at directions on things like that with the house. We explain it to people, but they end up forgetting, 5 seconds later, and end up pressing the buttons and doing the stuff. So food and drinks can be a mistake as well. I have personally had people take beverages. We drink a lot of coffee in the Seattle area, and I've had people bring coffee and have the coffee be spilled on the carpet of the house that the person was touring.
Yeah, I try to tell people, leave everything in the car, because you don't want to be responsible for that. Everybody has a different way of keeping their home. Some people are like, they don't even eat in certain rooms, and then you come in and spill your coffee on their couch, and that could be really bad.
Yeah, so we're living in the real world, right? Which means that the person looking at the house may have a 4-year-old son, 5-year-old son. Maybe he's got the box of the chicken nuggets. The box has the barbecue sauce, and it ends up in the house because they just came from, eating lunch. And this is real world, so this stuff happens. So the barbecue sauce ends up flipping over and flopping onto the whitish carpet. And this is so we don't food and drink in the touring of the houses is not a good equation.
Yeah, I've had it a few times where people leave out like chocolate chip cookies that they baked or whatever on the counter, and then the kids are all excited and everybody wants one, and then it's like, how do we micromanage the 3 children with the chocolate chip cookies going in 4 different directions and everybody's So just like keeping your mindset on this is someone's home, and we have to kind of be respectful of what they would want to see.
Oh yeah, and we both have kids, so we know how they can be.
Oh my gosh,
so
yes.
That 5-year-old will take that cookie, eat it, have half of it on its face.
It's on their face, and they're just like now rubbing it on the wall.
In the market we're in too, what ends up happening is sometimes the buyer will show up late to the appointment. So we've got 10 o'clock time, and there's maybe somebody coming at 10:15 or maybe 10:30. It's kind of how it works right now. And if they're there at 10:10, maybe the other party is there at 10:05, and now we're kind of losing a little bit of time, and that is kind of a mistake and a recipe for not a very good showing.
Yeah, I think a lot of clients don't realize how much strategy goes into filling in these timelines and the drive time and the availability. And if we get behind even by 10 minutes sometimes, we can really miss our next appointment or screw it up for the next people who then will miss their next appointment. And then the realtor behind us is mad at us for not making their timeline. So we just have to be mindful of those appointment times. And it also could be the seller that has something going on. I've had that happen where I'm representing the seller and they're angry because they had something they needed to have done after that appointment.
Yeah, generally speaking, if there's 3 or 4 homes that are going to be viewed, it's very easy to set up, but showing up late to that very first one can really set off a firestorm that we're trying to, either we're rushing through kind of the first house or we're trying to make up the time somewhere else. So yeah, showing up late, big mistake. So let's talk about an honest mistake that people can make. In the house, excited, kind of trying things out, but it's getting a little handsy with stuff. So we've seen times when people grabbed the faucet knob and turned it, and like it just kind of, you know, fell off or whatever, and which maybe means they need a new faucet. So it's maybe not their fault, but just overly.
You break it, you buy
things.
it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, think about it. If it's your home, do you want people like opening all the cupboards and everything, opening up the fridge, looking inside? Again, cameras. It's not a home inspection at that point. We're just looking at the home, so it's not a time to really experiment and really give everything that test drive like at a home inspection.
Yeah, especially not their actual stuff. I think this is the other thing that comes into play. Like, it's fair to open cabinets and kind of look around. You're looking at the storage space and whatnot, but I've had situations where people are looking through people's drawers in their dresser, and I'm thinking, what is that about? It's not, the dresser's not for sale.
And again, keep in mind, you guys, this is videos about mistakes. This isn't really common. Like, most people don't do this stuff.
Doesn't happen very often.
These are the mistakes, though, that we have seen. And you don't want to go to somebody's nightstand and look inside and see, you know, what they've got going on in there.
I think most people are pretty understanding, and if they have kids and if they have stuff laying out, they understand. I mean, we're pretty good at letting sellers know whatever you leave out is going to get handled. I mean, that's typical. So it's just a mistake if people go too far with it, if that makes sense.
So this last mistake is a big one. This is we saved the best for last, all right? And so in this market, you want to make sure that you go to the house at least one time before you make the offer, and that you don't do something that makes you have to go back because you may not get a shot at it.
Yeah, in a market like this, we're oftentimes squeezing appointments in, and it's hard enough to get in one time at a time when everybody can see the home. But if you have multiple decision makers trying to get a second look at the home, to have maybe your parent or your spouse or whoever it is that's also a decision maker in the process, we might not get a chance to get that second appointment because there might already be offers on the table and they could be completely booked up with showings. That's just where we are currently.
Yep, so if something's super important about the house, you have to have, we have people who bring furniture from Germany that is 14, 20 feet long, and they have to have a wall. And so it's making sure that wall gets measured. It's just making sure that everything is done. You got one shot. So that's a wrap on the top mistakes buyers make, especially in our market. And do us a favor, if you are thinking that you want to relocate to Olympia, be sure to check out our other videos, the pros and cons of living in Olympia. Or if you were thinking you're actually going to buy a home, be sure to check out our buyer's blueprint that maps out the entire buying process for you. It's a good place to get started. And thank you for watching.